Everybody, welcome to or back to my channel, My Kind of Stuff, and today is episode 7 of TBR Takedown. All right, here is our spinner wheel. I shuffled the numbers around. Let's give it our first spin. Two. Man, okay, that's a really low number. We're going to remove that as a choice. This is my spreadsheet. Let me zoom it in so you guys can actually read it. So I just have the title of the book, the author, and then I just made this for myself so I know where I can get the audiobook if I need it. Oh, okay. A Curse for True Love by Stephanie Garber. All right, so I just had to look this up because I couldn't remember the order they went in. So A Curse for True Love is actually book 3, but I haven't read book 2 yet, so we are going to be reading The Ballad of Never After as our first book. All right, this is roll 2. I keep saying roll. This is a spin. Number 65. Okay, let's remove that. And over here on our spreadsheet, go down to 65. Ooh, okay. Irish Kiss by Sienna Blake. I have had this book for so long. I also believe that's not book 1. Oh no, maybe it is. Okay. For some reason, I thought it was not. So this is the Irish Kiss series. Yeah. So I have a special edition of book 1 from, oh my goodness, I don't even remember what book box now. Well, we'll look at it when we wrap everything up at the end, but I have a really pretty special edition of this that I've had for years now, and I just need to read it. So I'm excited it picked this for me. All right, this is going to be our third and probably final roll. I used to do 5 books per episode, but the last couple episodes I've only been doing 3, just because I've had some life changes and I just don't have as much time to read anymore. But it kind of depends on what it picks. If it picks really short books, I might add another. If it picks a really long one, you know. So 109. If we scroll down to 109. Oh, okay. This is a fun choice. So The Order, Kingdom of Fallen Ash by Katrina St. Clair. I went to Barnes and Noble with my husband about a month ago, and I was looking through like the dark romance books, and he was kind of laughing, and he was like, all these covers look the same. Like, I don't, how do you tell them apart? So I had him pick one for me. So I can't wait to show you guys the beautiful edition he picked out for this book. I know nothing about it, but he picked it, so I took it. So excited that this is a choice, but this is a very chunky book. So this is definitely our last spin. So let's go back to full screen and kind of recap everything. All right, so let's recap again. The first spin got us The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is book 2 in the series. I loved the Caraval series, and I just read book 1 of the Ballad of Never After series a couple months ago now, and was a little disappointed. So I'm interested to see what happens here. I still love Stephanie Garber's writing. I just didn't think the story was quite as fun or interesting. So we'll see how this goes. I still want to read it regardless. And then the second book that was picked was Irish Kiss by Sienna Blake. Again, look at this beautiful cover. And this is from Dark and Disturbed book box. I couldn't remember where I'd gotten it from. It also came with like a signed book plate. I know nothing about this other than it is a dark romance and it's pretty chunky. So I'm excited to get into this. I assume mermaid. I don't know if it's actually mermaids or just takes place by the ocean. Truly, absolutely know nothing about this series. So I'm excited to jump in and find out. And then the third spin got us The Order, Kingdom of the Fallen. Again, this is the beautiful one that my husband picked out, which I agree, it's definitely very different than any other dark romance. I believe this one is like two people fall in love from like very different classes. She kind of lives in the slums and he's very rich in this world, and there's some sort of, I think, magic powers that they have. Basically, they can't be together, but they love each other. So I'm really excited to kind of see what goes on in here. I've heard nothing about it. I've never heard anyone talk about it before. Also, another really thick book. We got some chunky boys this time. So these are the 3 books we will be reading for this episode. So I will check back with you guys when I have finished one and have some thoughts. All right, guys, I have officially finished my first book for this episode of TBR Takedown, and that is Irish Kiss by Sienna Blake. I ended up really, really enjoying this. I unfortunately had to only give it 3 stars just because I didn't love how it wrapped up at the end, but overall I still had a really good time with it. Um for how like thick it is, I had to eyeball read this because there is no audiobook. I binged it in like just a few days. Can confirm the mermaid tale. Definitely not a mermaid story. um the mermaid does kind of play a role. It's actually a selkie. And that's kind of like his nickname for her, and there's a tattoo involved and that kind of stuff. But here we follow our female main character, Saoirse. Um, she is a teen when we kind of first start out, a young teen. She has a really bad home life. Her dad is in prison. Her mom is a drug addict and a drunk and kind of abuses her, doesn't take care of her. They never have food in the house, so she's starving. She ends up getting in trouble with the law. She kind of she needs this like confirmation that like somebody loves and cares about her. There's this neighbor boy who like was giving her some attention, called her back into an alley, made her get high with him and a friend. They had been like spray painting graffiti on a wall. The cops showed up. They took off running. This was her first time trying weed, so she was too high to like process what was happening. She ends up getting caught and taking the fall for the boys' actions. Um, so she gets in trouble. She ends up needing like a kind of parole officer sort of deal, which is how we meet our male main character. Nothing really happens when she's young per se, but there's definitely like a toxic relationship going on here. He's having a hard time with life. He's kind of going through a separation from his wife. He's spending way too much time with her, and that's kind of what really like puts the nail in the coffin with this separation. His wife can't deal with him spending all of his time and money and energy on this teenage girl. He's always getting her like he picks her up every day, takes her out to eat, drops her off at school, picks her up from school and drives her home, like to keep her out of trouble. But he doesn't do this for any of his other kids. That he's in charge of. So he has this like special connection with her. She feels really safe with him because she doesn't have anyone at home taking care of her. Her mom doesn't even buy food for the house. So there's definitely a toxic relationship there. But we kind of follow her entire life, like growing up until she's in her 20s, I believe. But they don't really get together until she's 17, I think. And even still, it's like just before her 18th birthday. Again, obviously, still a toxic relationship. This is a dark romance, but I did like that aspect of it. And honestly, I liked most of the book until her dad got out of prison, came back into her life. He took her away from her mom and was taking care of her. But, like, obviously, he was in prison, so he's not a good guy either. So, yeah, I think all the events that followed from there, I don't know. I didn't like the person she became after her dad got out of prison. Obviously, like at this point, she's growing up, she's learning to be her own person, but she just makes some really bad decisions. Um, and is just really kind of a brat the entire time. Like, I would have expected her behavior to be like that more when she was in her teens, like young teens. But now she's getting a little older, and for some reason, she is regressing in behavior, and that was a little annoying. Um, so if it wasn't for that, this book could have been 5 stars. But again, I ended up giving it 3 just because I didn't like the ending all that much. But that being said, I'm going to go get started on my next book, and I will check back in with you guys later. All right, guys, I have officially finished the next book for TBR Takedown, and that is Kingdom of Fallen Ash. This is book 1 in the Order series by Katarina St. Clair. This is the beautiful edition that my husband picked up for me at Barnes& and Noble when I asked him to pick out a book for me. I hadn't heard of this one before. I think it's an older series, but like I'd never heard anyone really talk about it. But I'm really glad he picked this up. I ended up loving this. I gave it 4.5 stars. I also immediately upon finishing this went to Barnes and Noble and ordered the next 3 books because I wanted all of these special editions so that they matched. I don't really love the original covers, so really excited to be getting the rest of these and be able to read them. But in this book, it is kind of like a dystopian society called the Order. They're kind of divided up between the privileged people who are called untouchables and those people that are struggling called the unfortunates. The untouchables are in power. They kind of rule the city with an iron fist. They impoverish the unfortunates. Um, they're kind of like more of the working class citizens. But as the story progresses, the untouchables do more and more to take away from the unfortunates. They can't get medicine. They don't have food. They're having to steal to survive. And there's just a lot of really crappy stuff going on. And our 2 main characters that we follow in this, because it is a romance, is a girl who is from a untouchable family. Her father and mother are both highly influential in the society, but she can't accept how these people are treated. So she's seeking to like challenge the system basically and help these people because she's seeing now from like schoolmates and stuff because the kids all go to school together. Um, they're just treated very differently while in school. And she makes friends with a boy who is an unfortunate. They end up obviously having feelings for each other, and their fates kind of end up intertwining. Um, and he's kind of out for vengeance. She's trying to challenge the system, and they end up starting sort of a rebellion together. There's definitely some different twists and other plot points in here that I don't want to spoil for you. Um, but yeah, this gave me the same feelings that I felt when I was reading Serpents in the Wings of Night, which I absolutely loved. Um, and I haven't had a fantasy romance do that in a long time. So I was really, really excited with how much I ended up loving this, and I cannot wait to continue. That being said, I have one more book to read for this episode, and that is The Ballad of Never After. So I'm going to go ahead and start reading that, and I will check back in with you guys later. All right, guys, I have finished my third and final book for this episode of TBR Takedown, and that is The Ballad of Never After by Stephanie Garber. This is book 2 in the Once Upon a Broken Heart series. I'm happy to say that I liked this one a whole lot more than I liked book 1 of the series. I picked this up because of how much I liked Caraval, and I wanted to continue dabbling in Stephanie Garber's writing because I think it's really like lyrical and beautiful. Um, in this story, we're still following Jax and Evangeline. After what transpires in book 1, Evangeline isn't sure if she can trust Jax, but they have to form an alliance anyway in order to cure Evangeline of this curse that has been put on her. And in the meantime, she is trying to help her new husband, and of course that goes awry. The little like twist at the end of this really made me want to pick up book 3 right away, so I may get to that one soon. Just because I'm interested to see how this all wraps up. Um, there are 2 characters that I'm obviously rooting for and hope that they get together in the end. So yeah, I'm really excited to continue this series and see what happens. But that being said, this is it for this episode of TBR Takedown. Let me know down in the comments below if you've read any of these books and you like them. If this is your first time visiting my channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos. Give the video a thumbs up on your way out, and I will catch you guys in the next one. Bye!